Hello and welcome to my boss guide series for the Blackwing Descent, where I've compiled existing information combined with my recent raiding experience to present these guides in a modern, up-to-date format. Before we get started, if you find this guide helpful, consider dropping a like, subscribing, and sharing this video with a friend. Otherwise, thanks for watching, I hope you enjoy. Chimaeron is a patchwork style of encounter that becomes available once Magma and the Omnitron defense system have been defeated. This fight has 3 phases. You'll need 3 tanks, 5 to 7 healers, and the rest DPS. Before engaging Chimaeron, you'll want to talk with the imprisoned gnome. In doing so, you'll convince him to activate his Biolotron. This small robot plays a very big role by spraying Pip's mixture on the raid. This buff makes it so that as long as the player's health is above 10,000, they cannot die. Playing around this buff is the crux of the fight. Healers must keep players above 10,000 health to prevent them from dying, but must also avoid overhealing. Otherwise they will very quickly go oom. With that in mind, let's break down Chimaeron's abilities. Break. Chimaeron attacks viciously, increasing his target's physical damage taken by 25% and reducing healing received by 15% for 1 minute. This effect stacks. Double attack. Chimaeron's next melee attack strikes twice. These are the 2 tank busters for the fight, and with it, there are a few different tanking strategies. For simplicity, I'm only going to cover what I believe to be one of the more reliable and straightforward approaches, but I'll include a segment towards the end of the video that touches on some of the other strategies. That said, the method I'm going to base most of this guide off of involves having 3 tanks that take turns taunting off each other at 2 stacks of break, with each tank rotating through their cooldowns or receiving externals to survive double attack. As for the rest of the boss's abilities, we have the following. Caustic Slime. Chimaeron lobs Caustic Slime at 5 random players, in sets of 2 on normal or 3 on heroic. Each slime deals 270,000 nature damage, divided evenly among all players within 6 yards. It also reduces chance to hit by 75% for 2.5 seconds. Massacre. Chimaeron hits all players for massive damage, probably killing anyone not under the effect of Pip's mixture. Caustic Slime and Massacre will kill players not above 10,000 health, which is where your healers come into play, being the ones responsible for ensuring that raiders sit above this threshold. For the rest of the raid, in Phase 1, players must maintain a 6-yard spread. Consider having pre-assigned positions. This is done to minimize the number of players affected by the hit chance reduction Caustic Slime applies. Occasionally, the Biolotron will be knocked offline and the fight enters its 2nd phase. For 30 seconds, your raid will not have Pip's mixture active. Thus, players will need to stack up to survive Caustic Slime. Phase 2 also gives the green light for your healers to pump. Heal as much as possible to survive the slime damage going out. This is a good time to send raid and healing cooldowns. Furthermore, during Phase 2, Chimaeron's heads will feud and no longer attack the tank, so healers can focus solely on raid healing. After 30 seconds, the Biolotron comes back online just in time for the next massacre, and the fight returns to Phase 1, with players spreading back out to their initial positions and healers once more keeping players above 10k health. One tip for this transition is to delay spreading out after the massacre cast. The next damage event doesn't go out for another 15 seconds, which enables healers to utilize their AoE healing for a short while longer to ensure the raid sits above the 10,000 health threshold. The only condition is that players must spread back out to their original positions before Caustic Slime goes out. Repeat phases 1 and 2 until the boss reaches 20% health and Phase 3 begins. At this point, Chimaeron goes into a rage. He no longer uses Caustic Slime and Massacre, but instead becomes immune to taunting effects and reduces all healing done by 99%. At this point, pop Bloodlust and all DPS cooldowns and burn the boss. Healers be sure to help DPS. Your tanks will be the first ones to go without the ability to heal themselves. However, we can delay their deaths through preventative shielding and damage reduction cooldowns. So be sure to save and rotate through any available externals to help them survive as long as possible. Spirit Link Totem is especially strong here. Now, a couple pointers for this phase. Before pushing the boss to 20% health and triggering phase 3, it may be a good idea to hold DPS for a short period and give healers time to top the tanks off. It can spell disaster if you phase immediately after a massacre, and all 3 tanks are sitting on a sliver of health, unable to be healed. Additionally, since Chimaeron can no longer be taunted, we can anticipate which player will become his target using the threat meter. Knowing who has threat after the current target dies allows for more informed decision making, both in regards to which tank should next receive externals, or if every tank is dead, knowing which DPS player will next need to kite the boss. Otherwise, nuke Chimaeron down and that's the fight. On Heroic, the fight proceeds much like it does on Normal, with a couple new twists. Caustic Slime now goes out in sets of 3 instead of 2. This can lead to some tight overlaps between Massacre casts in Phase 1. In Phase 2, 3 sets of Caustic Slime means the raid takes a lot more damage while stacked up, so even greater healing throughput is required. Additionally, in Phase 2, Chimaeron's heads will no longer feud, meaning your tanks will continue to take damage and are susceptible to Chimaeron's tank busters. This is the most dangerous part of the fight as a tank. On top of tanking the boss, you'll now also be taking Caustic Slime damage, without Pip's mixture active. Rotate through big defensives and externals to survive here. Then, at 20% health, when Chimaeron enters its 3rd phase, Nefarian applies a shadow damage dot to the entire raid. So, not only are your tanks on a timer, the entire raid will eventually rot out and die. Hence, it's even more important to ensure we're phasing at a good time. Plan to push the boss just before a big damage event, since this gives your healers as much time as possible to heal up the raid. Don't worry about getting everyone to exactly full health, you likely won't have time for that. Around 60 to 70% should be plenty. Otherwise, and just like normal, press Bloodlust and blast the boss before he blasts you. As we discussed, there are a few different methods of tanking this fight, so let's look at some alternatives. The first of which is to simply play 2 tanks, with each tank taunting off each other at 4 stacks of break. This can work if you have 2 very strong, very geared tanks, but I wouldn't recommend it for raid teams seeing this fight for the first time. The other strategy, however, is more technical, but can be a good solution for teams progressing through this encounter. Before I explain exactly how it works, we need to understand 2 things about the fight. The first thing is that, while active, Finkel's mixture makes it so that whoever tanks the boss cannot die as long as they're kept above 10,000 health. The second thing is that Chimaeron melee's very slow, like once every 5 seconds slow. These 2 components of the fight enable the following tanking strategy. Assign 1 tank to the boss for all of Phase 1. Racking up stacks of break indefinitely. Again, they can't die due to Finkel's mixture, and we have plenty of time between auto attacks to heal them back up above 10,000 health. This tank's weakness, however, is that double attack will almost assuredly kill them at high stacks of break. So, when Chimaeron queues up double attack, have a second tank taunt the boss to soak the hit. After which point, the main tank taunts back. This repeats for every double attack. Then, for Phase 2, when Finkel's mixture is no longer active, have a third tank taunt the boss, relieving the first tank with their 4 stacks of break. The third tank will rotate through cooldowns to survive the phase, all while the second tank continues to taunt the boss for every double attack. After 30 seconds, when the Balotron comes back online, the first tank taunts back, maintaining their 4 stacks of break and repeating the taunting sequence as previously described for Phase 1. Repeat this until Phase 3, at which point the double attack tank should taunt the boss just before the boss transitions, as they won't have any stacks of break at this time, and are the least likely to die right away. Anyways, that's it. See ya.